Well, folks, got another little old story coming to you this afternoon. Name of it's called Tainted. Well, Buster woke up feeling a mite poorly, and Grandma Clara said for him to walk on over to Doc Gooder's office and see him. She had cotton to pick and couldn't take him, but would check on him when she went on into dinner. Now, folks, we need to get something straight here. We have down south breakfast, dinner, and supper. Now, up here in Yankee land, they want breakfast, and then they want lunch, and then they want dinner. But that's not how we see it down there. So, if you don't believe me, you look in the dictionary and read about dinner. Well, anyhow, back to what my story's about. Well, Buster got over to Doc Gooder's place early and got right on in to see him. Well, Doc looked over Buster and couldn't find anything wrong with him, but said for him to go on over to the hospital next door and see Miss Laura and get some blood took and let them see what could be wrong with Buster. Well, Miss Laura said howdy to Buster and asked how his and Grandma and Grandpa was doing when he got there. Buster said just fine and fit as a fiddle. Well, let's get to it, Miss Laura said, and then she took some blood from his arm. Well, Miss Laura said she would report to Doc Gooder and she would let him know the results. She said she was sorry he was a-feeling poorly and knowed he would be just fine. Well, Buster left on out and stopped by the gents before leaving on out to the house. As he was a-passing by the lab where his blood was took by Miss Laura, he overheard her talking to Miss Ola, the lady from Liberia that was one of the other nurses, saying Buster's blood was tainted, or some such, but didn't hear anything else that they were saying, and anything or everything, I guess. But tainted was enough for him. Well, that put Buster in a tizzy, I tell you. Old Buster was right put out of here, and he was tainted and got a real feeling to being even more poorly. Well, Buster stopped into Leake's drugstore to sit a spell and study on his situation whilst drinking a butterscotch malt. About that time, Hired come by and seen Buster sitting there just a-staring at the wall and off into space. Well, that wouldn't do, so he went on in and sat down by Buster and asked him just what in the tarnation he was a-doing. Well, Buster said to Hired he was in a sure enough pickle, and he said he had been feeling poorly and went to see Doc Gooder, and he had his blood took by Miss Laura, and he heard her saying he was tainted. Well, that ain't good, but we will help you any way we can, said Hired. Now, hold on now, I'm calling the boys. Hired got a hold of Jesse right away, but Walter was herding cattle with his and Pa and brothers, said his and Ma. She said they'd be in for dinner and would send Walter right on over since he had to go to town to the feed store anyway. Well, it wasn't about 45 minutes till Walter got there, and they all went over to Tinker Dill's, got him some dinner, and hashed out the situation about Buster. Now, the dinner rush was over about then, and Miss Dill set up a spread for all the boys and said she didn't want no leftovers. She especially eyeballed Jesse about that, I can tell you. Well, you got to understand if the rest of the stories, you know, Jesse didn't like no corn or nothing sappy, and the only thing he'd about eat was a hamburger. And the time he had to go to the doctor's and then told her, I told the doc his mama wasn't feeding him. And the doc knew better, but anyhow, that's in another story. Well, Buster's appetite was a mite off, you could say, but he cleaned his in plate, though. Now, all the boys sat around drinking coffee and tried to ease Buster's mind about being tainted. Well, Jesse told Buster being tainted don't mean he's a-dying. Well, Buster wouldn't have none of it or hear none about it. His mama had the cancer and died at 49, and he just knowed he done got him some cancer too. He was tainted. Well, Buster told the boys to come along with him to Turpin's funeral parlor because he was a-fixing to pick him out a casket and see about his burying next to his mama. Now, don't go off half-cocked, says Walter, and the rest of the boys joined in on that for sure. You're just a young feller, too young to be a-dying, piped up somebody coming up from behind him. Well, it was Big Mike Young. And he said, I ain't a-hearing that kind of talk now, Buster. Well, Big Mike says, Buster, facts is facts. I know Jesus, so I'm ready to go. I guess if I have to go, I'm ready, and I reckon I'm ready to go now. Well, Big Mike says, Buster, them facts ain't always what they seem to be. Here's what we gonna do. We and all our folks are gonna meet up at your Grandma Gus's house and get this all straightened out. Well, Big Mike did have a pretty good head on his shoulders, but he liked to trickster around too much. Of course, Walter, as bad as he was. "You ain't a dying," said Hired, "'cause if you did, I'd have to whoop you for sure." "Amen to that," said Jesse and Walter. "And I just don't think you can lick all three of us," said Walter. "Well, let's set up the meeting for tonight and then head over to Soup's where I got a mite of blue moon left from our trip to Kentucky." Well, all the boys hightailed it over to Soup's pool hall, dragging Buster with them, and him being a bit wall-eyed, like one of them Fernie hole boys. Down in the mouth, you might say. Well, the boys all got to have a few snorts of old Buster's eyes rolled back like them window shades after a bit. Seemed like Buster eased up a bit about all his thinking about dying, and also as the boys began to talk about getting their gals going sparking Saturday night after the dance. Well, after Buster roused up after a spell, he told all the boys how much he appreciated them and going with him to Turpin's funeral parlor and helping him pick out his casket and making all arrangements for his burying. "Now that ain't all said and done," piped up Jesse. "Let's look at this again. First off, let's talk to all the families at your Grandpa Gus's place and get all the facts from Doc Gooder." "Well, great idea," said Hired, "so let's go on over and talk to him now and get the skinny on what ails Buster and ask him if he would come over to Grandpa Gus's tonight." Well, all the boys headed on out to Doc Gooder's, and when they got there, Stacy, the secretary, told them Doc Gooder was gone to nightfall on a house call, but Chris, that was his right-hand man, was there. Chris come out and told the boys he'd make sure Doc Gooder would be there at Grandpa Gus's tonight when he got on back. Well, Chris told all the boys to go on back and wait till Doc come over. Now, Stacy, she had an idea that she would call Miss Laura and ask her what all was going on. Stacy and Chris both said ain't no results from the blood test been sent to them yet. "You're putting the cart before the horse now," Buster said, Hired. "Just wait till we get all the evidence and then we can figure it all out." Well, about that time, Buster's Grandma Clara come into Doc Gooder's a caterwauling and breathing fire now. "What's all this about Buster dying?" she asked Chris and Stacy. "Well, we ain't got all the facts, Miss Orchek, but we is all meeting at your place along with Doc Gooder and Miss Laura tonight to get the straight of it." "Well, my young'un ain't going to be dying anytime soon, you hear. I won't have it." Now, says Chris, "let's just be calm till Doc gets on back and we can all speak to him and Miss Laura tonight." Well, word come to me whilst I was a-picking cotton, and I come into town as fast as I could. I guess I'd better head on home and get supper ready for everybody. Well, Stacy says, "Let me come with you, Grandma, and I can help you fix up all the victuals, set them out." Well, Stacy knowed all the families, especially the Ollinger and McBrayer gals, seeing how they all went to school together and church too. Well, after the boys and Grandma and Stacy got to Buster's, all manner of folks come a-calling. There was friends and family from all over the county. People was a-bringing food and flyers and all manner of stuff, including a collection that was took up, believe it or not. The preacher, John Snyder, was there sitting in the porch swing when they all got there and called everybody up for prayer. It was awful nice, and it was a pleasurable evening, and the gathering moved into the barn where tables was set up for everybody and food and drink and all was put out for them. Well, Buster was real quiet-like, and then he told everybody as Grandpa Gus come in from the field that if and he had to go, then this was a right nice special send-off. Well, just as supper was laid out, Doc Gooder and Miss Laura come up. Doc Gooder asked everybody to pipe down now and for quiet. First off, Doc asked Buster what he heard Miss Laura say. "Well," says Buster, "I heard enough to know I didn't have long for this here world. My blood was tainted." "Now wait just a minute now, Buster. Couldn't it be that they was saying you wasn't Indian or Chinese or colored but white, so you taint that?" "I don't know how that could be," said Buster. "There just wasn't that much talking going on." "Well, Miss Laura might have something to say to what was said." Doc Gooder said, "Miss Laura, would you kindly tell what was said?" "Well, sure enough, Doc. I was telling Miss Ola, the other nurse, that Buster eat them 12 hamburgers over to the pool hall and ain't been to the outhouse." Well, everybody began to clapping and a-laughing and a-cheering and was so glad Buster wasn't a-dying. Well, Doc then spoke up and asked Miss Laura how she knowed that. Well, Miss Laura says, "Alma Jones and her boy Honyaker, along with Porky Smithers, was at the pool hall and seed Buster eat all them 12 hamburgers and drank a case of them small Coca-Colas. As it come to be, Porky's mama run a junkyard there in town and was the biggest gossip in the county. The woman was right husky, you might say, and she could chew and spit as well as any man. Anybody passing by got an earful of gossip that happened to be about Buster this time. This was according to Homer Archibald McPherster, that was a friend of Porky and Honyakers. I've been doing this a long time, and I'm a mama, so I knowed the blood was good, but also knowed Buster should already been to the outhouse after them 12 hamburgers. That's why he was a-ailing. Tain't a thing wrong with Buster. Well, after all was said and done, all the folks showed up had a right nice evening and supper with friends and kin. Preacher John Snyder gave a little talk about gossip and such, but said just think of everybody coming together when they thought they was losing one of their own. Well, the collection that was took up went to the orphanage for the young'uns that had no home or family to have some happiness from folks that cared. Well, about that time, Buster lit us, shuck, and hightailed it out to the outhouse a-hollering, "God bless Miss Laura." That's enough for old Buster today. See y'all later. Have a blessed day.